A fine Saturday evening to everyone. Tonight we are going to check our instance meshes, which we will go over how I have removed normal static meshes and implemented instance meshes. Okay, so let's have a look, and the way we have done that is, and there's a bit of cleanup required actually while we're at it. With this can all go. This can go. And probably this can go, but I'm just going to leave it there for now. So, rather than actually create a static mesh, we're actually creating a instance mesh component. Okay, and in actual fact, that can go. It's probably not. It didn't fail. Right. So here's how it goes. We add our instance mesh in here. We set it as a variable for use later if required. We get our product. Then we set the mesh on the static mesh, and then we add an instance at 0, 0. Okay, and then this bit of code changes slightly. We now use the instance mesh to set the location and rotation, and we feed it along the conveyor belt with our timeline. And now what we do is we fire off an interface call on the spline, or sorry, not on the spline, but the spline now has an actor at the destination point, right? So when the item reaches the end of the conveyor belt, it calls the destination object, which could be the refiner, a warehouse, whatever, and calls this interface call, right? So I'm going to show you how this changes this code. So now, instead of having to check all these collision overlaps, now that I'm not using collision at all, because collision basically wasn't working on the instance meshes, basically what we can do is this. We can completely remove these. Okay? And we can replace it with that one call there. Okay? So you'll see how much cleaner this is instantly. Now, we still need this for the finish the spline, right? And in actual fact, we have added this cell to finish the spline, and this is what sets up the destination actor, right? That we can then call. So I was just doing it there on the refiner, I believe. And as you can see here, we've got our component overlap, which we have removed, and we've basically used the same code. Now, we might actually even be able to optimize this further by changing this to a for next with break, even though the recipes aren't actually going to get that big. Like, the maximum number of ingredients to a recipe might be 3 or 4. It can be anything, but we don't want to make excuse me, we don't want to make it that ridiculous. So let's go about doing it for our smelter. Okay. And we basically do it in the exact same way. All we do is open up our interfaces, transfer item, implement event, pull that up, and we're not replacing that one. That's for sure. It's looking like this one we replace. Right, so all we basically do is plug that in there, plug that in there, remove that, and put that there. Okay. We can save that. And now you'll see that it's pretty easy now to change all of them. All we need to do is go to our interfaces, transfer item, right click, implement event, and this is basically going to replace these other two. So we just plug that in there, plug that in there, and remove that, move it out of the way, and fundamentally this is going to be the exact same, and we don't actually need that box anymore. So you'll notice this code is exactly the same. So I've actually, by having to optimize this, I've had to actually improve the design of it by implementing an interface and doing it this way. So that's a smelter, fabricator, refiner, and we don't need to do the miner because the miner does not have a input. Okay. So the only ones now that we have to do is the splitter and the combiner. So if we're going to conveyor, and I'm pretty sure that this is our base thing. Okay, so if we check our dumb splitter, it's based on the base connector, right? So both the combiner and this one, which I was hoping, all we need to do now is go into the class settings and add BPI transfer item. Okay. And we save that. And now if we go into our DOM splitter, here's our DOM splitter, right? And I'm pretty sure right, we're not going to do it on plain out. Right, so I'm pretty sure we're doing build spline. Okay. Now, do we have... Yeah, here it's here. And we've actually got that there. So I must have worked on that earlier. Which is fine. So we're finishing the spline. Okay. And now we're looking for plane in. Because this is... wait a minute. That's not on overlap. Right, let's have a look at this. So this has got the one in. Okay? Doesn't matter about outputs, only matters about inputs. So input collision box. Okay. Plane in, input collision box. So if we look at our interfaces, we've got transfer item, implement event. It's going to put it in the middle of nowhere. And let's just check here. Right. Okay. So this should go here. And we do need a temp actor here, so that should go there. This can get removed. And then once removed, that can go up there. Can save that. That's that one done. Now this one is this. This is a combiner, so this is going to have 3 inputs, which is these 3 here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our interfaces again. We're going to right click on our transfer item, implement event. That's going to put that there. Hey Kofi, good evening mate, how are you today? If you didn't know, we have implemented our static, that's not it, We have implemented our static meshes. Our instanced meshes, sorry. And we are just replacing them all and replacing our collision boxes. And this should improve our frame rate. And I'm hoping. Good evening. Indeed. Well, that's good that you're good. I'm good. I'm very good, in fact, if this all works. So we need to finish the spline and make sure we're doing the right thing here. And it's not build the spline, it's finish the spline, and then all we do is get reference to self and then plug it in here. And that should be that. So let's have a look at the frame rate, shall we? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close every single one of them. Before we do that, then I'm going to hit save all. That sounds like the sensible thing to do. Press play. We have about 80 frames per second. It's jumping up and down all over the place. Right, so the first thing we'll do is we shall build a smelter. And then we shall launch some probes. Maybe we can actually maybe we want the angle of the camera just up a little bit. Right, we'll spin this round. Okay. And we're going to check its box height, so we're good to go. Click on that. Okay, so that's finished display. Disable that. Okay, whatever. This was me testing it earlier, by the way, guys, to make sure it did actually do what I wanted it to do. Huh. Apparently I broke something. Let's stop that. What's going on here? Okay. Right, well, Okay, whatever, right? So we have to go into the construction script, and it's not with that, right? It is actually this item here, and this has to be movable. Save that. Right. Okay. My bad. Let's fire them off. And next, let's get our refinery back up. Okay. Let's spin that around. Now, let's make that, and there we go. We have our beautiful barrels. So thanks, Kofi. As I said, it wasn't that difficult to actually get it working with the instance meshes. Once I got away from the fact that, right, I'm not going to be using the static meshes and the collision, then it was all good. Now I can show you this actually doing something, right? Because for the moment you can't really see it doing anything. So what I'll do is I'll create another miner. In fact, let's do this properly and let's create another miner here. And then let's test it by doing a combiner right here. And we shall spin that around. And that's bauxite. And this one is, well, actually, what we'll do is we'll spin that around. We'll spin this one around. And then this one is bauxite as well. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, so what we'll do is, well, let's do it the sensible way, shall we? So we're going to create our So that's joined on. That's going to be one of the next tasks to do. So that should be joined on. So there we go. Yeah, this is live. Billionaire market. So next thing, we're going to pull our out of here. And then that joins on. And you'll notice that we haven't really lost any frame rate because we're using our instant meshes. Now what I'm going to have to do here is add some more workers so that our miners speed up production. How are you tonight, billionaire market? Nice to see you here. So now we should end up getting like double barrels because these are all combining now. Okay. And these are all going into the warehouse now, which I can show you because this bauxite number is rocketing up. Okay. Yes, I'm creating a game. So basically now we can do the same over here. This is bauxite again. So we can just join this up basically. So do that. Do that. Do that. And we should start getting and there we go. I'm not convinced with this frame rate, by the way, because it changes depending on what software I've got running. So now it's doing iron ore. This should be shooting up these. Oh, sorry. This refiner should be puffing smoke at us. Right? Let's have a check. Refiner. It's looking for an input. It's getting an input. Right. Okay. The refiner doesn't seem to be getting an input. And this was working earlier, I can assure you. Right, so let's leave it running. we shall open up the refiner, right, and we're not doing that. We should be looking at this. So this should be firing. So this is not firing. Okay. So why is it not firing? Okay, we're gonna have to stop a second. Right. Okay. Transfer item. Show. Let's show that again. It's pending kill. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at that then. What we'll do is we'll stick a 0.2 delay on it to give it time to process it. And that might just be enough to do it. That little jump in or the little decrease in frame rate might have been because it was piling out all those errors. I'm not sure. We can check that out though. I'll rotate this around in a minute. There we go. We need to check this. It's bauxite, so we don't need to change the recipe on our building. Do that. That. And there. And are you going to give me smoke? Or are you going to give me errors? Right, it doesn't look to me like if it's got... Nope. I don't get this. Right, so we're passing ourselves. Right, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do, right? We're going to be clever about this. What we're going to do is we're going to stop this. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to destroy this yet, okay? But I want to test it without the destroy. swear to you guys, this was working earlier, so I don't know why all of a sudden it stopped. Right, anyway, so spin this around. That gets joined there. It's still bauxite, so it's still okay. We click on our refiner. Right. So in our refiner, it's still not firing this. Why is it not firing that? Right. So we enable the breakpoint. It definitely does fire. It's not got an end actor. Right. So on the refiner, it hasn't got an end actor. Which means yep, which means that that's empty. So this is a reference to self. I was getting worried there, guys. I was getting worried that there was something fundamentally wrong, but it's just a couple of these little variables I haven't filled in that I thought I'd filled in for everything, but apparently not. Now, what I should go back here and do is put this delay back in. Because it is easier to put it here. I could put it at the end of when it's added to the supply, which would be the kind of correct way to do it. But on the other hand, then I would need to remember to update every single building every time I do this, or every type of connector, or every, you know. So we're just going to put it here for now. And destroy actor self. So we shall try it at this, and let's have a look, shall we? So we fire our probes. And build our building. Okay, so wait for that to get built. Now this has got to be it's bauxite again. Okay, well, whatever. So you better work this time. Right, I'm not even going to check this. I want to see smoke coming out of this chimney. Let there be smoke. Right, okay, we know that's going to disable that. Resume. Yeah, we know that's going to fire now. Resume. Yay, look at that. We have smoke. Smoke is in the house. Now, the interesting thing is, it'll actually stop. See how it's gradually kind of going away? Well, that's because it's not getting enough processing fast enough. So if we speed up processing a bit, right, the stuff going in, right, so we've got lots of stuff coming out of here, right, and then isn't that pretty? Now the idea is to obviously have sound effects and other things moving around, but it's just to give it some sort of visual reference that it's actually processing, right? That is the idea behind that. And if we actually now check our actual comp output, our output component has 62 iron ore. Okay, so I tell you what, let's carry this on, right? So what we'll do is we'll build another building, and it's going to be a smelter. Okay. And we shall move our smelter around a bit. We shall... Oh. Right, so there we go. And unfortunately I haven't marked these ones. I haven't marked the smelter with the inputs and outputs. I'll need to do that. But in the meantime, we shall do that. And there we go. We shall make sure we are on iron sheets, which we are. And if we build a fabricator, so we can spin that around. Then if we select that, hopefully, yeah, we can make widgets. So we've selected widgets, we need 2 iron sheets. That's all cool. So we can basically select our thing and We connect that. If I remember rightly, this takes about 10 or something to do this, but I'm not 100% sure. We're definitely making iron sheets. Right, is there anything on this conveyor belt? No, there isn't. Well, that's not very good. Right, so this is a smelter, okay? So we'll check on the smelter. And the smelter is getting ore. It's turning that into iron ore. And in the comp output, we have got iron ore. Right? I think this conveyor belt is screwed up. Right? Now, I believe that we might be able to build another one. Yeah, that might be it. That might have joined up. Apparently not. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to check on this. Unless, of course, the fabricator isn't finishing the spline. So let's have a look at our fabricator. Right. It's got its thing. Then it's doing its process. That's it doing its... That's it doing a thing there. I might need to... No. No, I don't need to do this. Right? But we might not be finishing the spline. That's just the start spline. We need to actually finish the spline. Yeah, we've not plugged that in. Darn it. Right, so that's why that wasn't working. I believe although I'm not convinced yet. Right. So let's test that again. Or let's get this window out of the way before we test it again. Right. So here we go. Probe. Here. I bet it gives us copper ore this time. Right. Building. Here. Okay. Smelter here. Fabricator here. Okay. Spin that around. Spin that around. Spin that around. That's still bauxite. Have I got this locked to bauxite? I bet you I've got this locked to bauxite. Right, anyway. So we could draw this along here. Is that joined up? Apparently not. We'll try that again. We're going to need to do something about that. Anyway, in the meantime, join that up, and then we change this to widget, close, we change that to iron, close, then we haven't added the plane on there to that one, or sorry, the plane. Okay, and then finally, what we want to do you're going to give me some crap out of this. Right, we're going to more production. Right, we'll just build the splines out of here anyway. So that's that joined up. Right, our smelter is still not doing jack. Comp input, this iron ore isn't doing anything. Right, so it is firing. Right, so that's true. Right, our comp bauxite isn't getting added, apparently. Right, so step over this. Right, it's definitely a BP object. So step over this. That's fine. Step over that is fine. our array element is apparently nothing. Now, the interesting thing is that's true. So this quantity in our comp input should be going up. If we step over, right, we're doing that array, and this item should be box height equals 1. Which would suggest that it's actually processing. Which would mean that it's actually using stuff. Yeah, it is. And for some reason, I'm not doing that. For some reason, this has been disconnected. Well, I've got no idea why that is that way. Right, wait a minute. The refiner was working properly, wasn't it? It wasn't the refiner. Right, wait a minute. Right, what's our buildings? The refiner and the smelter. So the refiner was working, it was the smelter that wasn't working. Right? So it's more like if this is getting fired in the smelter. Okay. Now that wasn't definitely not connected. And let's have a look at this one. So that's processing, and that's, yep, okay. So it's basically the output component that puts the stuff onto the belts, okay? The process just takes away from the input component and adds to the output component, okay? That's the way it works. And with that, I'm going to grab a quick cigarette, guys. I shall be back in about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Stick around, it won't be long. Okay guys, I've got my orange. All is well with the world. Apart from the fact that it's not actually outputting what it should be. Now the minor is, so what we'll do is we'll go into our right, hang on a tickety boo. Let's check what's working and what's not. Right, so we don't want to do that, we want to do that, right? And what we'll do is we shall build our smelter. Sorry, this is our refiner, right? And we should be able to spin this round in a second. There we go. Okay, now what is this? Come on. Right, you're right. That's a bit bizarre. I think I must have set this to be always bauxite at the moment for testing purposes. Right, so we connect that. Now, what we want to do is do that. Right, and then we shall spin it around in a second. So, but the point is here, right, just give me a second, we'll spin this round. Okay, then we'll join these up with a jolly nice right. So the refiner's working, okay? The smelter, we want to make iron sheet. And now is the iron sheet in comp input? It's not getting input. Okay, which means that this either isn't firing right. So this is a smelter. So I can only presume that the smelter doesn't have the finish. Right, that's what we're looking at. That's got build spline. Right. Ah, what a... I thought I'd done these earlier, by the way, guys. I'm really sorry. I've made a goofball again. Basically, I hadn't filled in any of the finished splines, and that's why it's not doing what it should be doing. Right. So we've got the smelter and the refiner working. Let's just double check the fabricator, okay? Right, and that's not it. That's not it. That's definitely not it. That's not it. This is it here. This is the one we did where we doubled up and said finish the spline. Okay, so we should, in theory, be good to go. Okay? We should be able to output widgets starting from bauxite. Okay? No promises. But we're going to try our best. There's a smelter. Here's a fabricator. Okay. We can spin that round. Spin that round. Couple of seconds for this one. Right. And this is bauxite, right? Yep. Right, so we just check. We're doing input bauxite, output iron ore. This one. Iron sheet. This one. Widgets. Okay. So the first thing we'll do here is we'll connect up this to this. Then we shall connect up this to this. Then we shall, right, we'll try that again because it didn't connect properly. Connect that to that. That's that one connected. And then we connect this all the way down here. And then to here. And finally, to get the whole ball rolling, we connect our miner to our refiner. And then we hit up a few times on the button. Okay, so we hit this. Blah, blah, blah. And now it better goddamn work. There's barrels coming in, barrels going out. We have a break point, which is a good sign. Resume that. And here we come. Hey, we have iron sheets. Oh, should have expected that. Resume. I think it takes 10 iron sheet to make a widget or something. Not sure. There we go. There's widget. You've got to be proud of that. And what we can do is, forget these endy things. I'm going to tidy all the splines up at the end. Right, but you can see there that it's going well. And then what we can do is we can type in controller and we can check the widget count. So it's at 52. And these aren't here yet, but they're about to get here. So it's 52, 53, 54. How's about that? We've got no frame rate slowdown at all. Awesome. What do you think, guys? We have factorial and satisfactory. Now, if I was to go the factorial route, then obviously we're going to have to do something with research, right? So we're going to have to have bottled research or something similar. And I suppose satisfactory did kind of the same thing, except they made it 3 different parts that you had to make, and it basically served the same function. Yeah, cool. For anybody that's not seen this, this all kind of pseudo works. I've got it so that if you click it, it'll do the research, and then it'll open up researches as you go down and da. So it's ready just for me to basically add in how you do the research, and then you'll get like faster smelting, better probes, you'll be able to research faster, blah blah blah. Got a million things to add to this tree, but this is all automated anyway, so all I need to add is adding stuff to a data table, and it basically just works. But yeah, any guys have any thoughts on this? Apart from the fact that my widgets are the wrong way around. I don't know why, but I've somehow yeah, I made a bit of a mistake there. What I should have done, do you like how it's going? With all the conveyors working and all the different like materials working and stuff like that. Yeah, once we get more movement and sound effects, more movement of like the robots here, and like I get a proper well, actually, once all the models are redone. But yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. It has actually got one sound effect, and that's when this thing runs out of when it runs out of minerals. Okay, it actually does like a power down sound. Let me check to see what the resources on it are. I've still got 3,000. But yeah, pretty damn cool. Right, what we need to know is how much it costs to build our buildings. Right, so we're going to do this the kind of sneaky way. Well, actually we can't. See, we can build a smelter, but I haven't added the other things in. So, hit 5. Yeah, we've no product to sell. Because I haven't added widgets. That's a bit of a bummer. Right, I'll tell you what we could do. What we could do is we could launch some probes. We can use our inventory, and we can build a smelter. That was a bad idea. Right, cancel that. Build 1, please. I think it takes 20 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. So I can hit the inventory again, and we can right click and build our smelter. Check what that is. Ah, it's copper, see? So we're gonna have to change this. Right, so that's wrong. We needed... Right, so that's not right. We actually need... do we need the refiner? Or, okay, let's try something else, right? If we plug this straight in, right? And we up our workers a bit. Let's see if we can trade copper ore. I don't think we can. No. Darn it. Oh well. Right, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to look at recipes and find out why the recipe for copper is wrong. So if we go to DT recipe and copper sheet, and the input is not copper sheet, the input should be copper ore. And we should have, yeah, it's made in a smelter. So we need 2 copper ore to make a copper sheet. I've decided, right? So if we do that, then we are actually in business. But the best thing to do here is to stop maximizing that window, right? And look at the restock values, right? Because that's going to tell us what we can sell to the ship. Rocket buys this commodity, so it only buys bauxite, copper ore, iron ore, right, so these things should be, say, true. So, hang on a second. Hang on 1 second. Do we got issues again with this? Right, so they buy, if we look at these, they buy these, right? So the rocket sells these 2 things. But if we're buying, or sorry, we're selling, the rocket should buy these. Right, but if we've got 0, it's not going to do anything. Right? So what we want to do is we want to have a look at our rocket to see what it's doing with its supplies. Right? And it's only doing, so what it's saying here is that it's only going to sell iron and copper. Now, if that's the case, it does buy and sell these two things. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do, right, is we'll stop it just now. And so the rocket buys that commodity. But if we don't have that commodity, it's not going to come up anyway, right? So what I'll do is right, so we're saying rocket buys that commodity. And let's have a look at our rocket. Right? Let's have a look at our rocket to see what things it's actually restocking on. Right? So what it's doing is nothing there. Okay, so we're begin play, setting a timer, getting the data table rows through the values. That shouldn't be there. Because if the rocket buys it, yeah, that should not be there. That logic is incorrect at this point. So it should try and restock items, even if it doesn't buy them, no, sell them. It doesn't buy them from you, but it does restock. Right, so this logic branch is incorrect. Which is fine. And that's why we were never getting those variables, I don't think. So now, yeah, there you go. So you can sell these, or the ship buys these products, right? These are all the products that the ship will buy. And these are the products that the ship will sell. Okay? But we do have to keep a track of these items and the quantities, right? Because we don't want the player to be constantly just selling off these items to the rocket, right? Without any kind of limit. So we want to limit that, right? But we do want to be able to have these here at this point. Now we will do a check to find out if we're at the stock amount for these, right? And then we'll take it from there. And on that, guys, I think I'm going to call it an early night. I've got to go and walk the dog and go and buy cigarettes. So if you've watched, thank you very much for popping in. Hit the subscribe button if you feel like it. Check out the description for the Discord and other ways to support me. And once again, have a lovely Saturday night. And I'll see you all tomorrow at 2 Central Time. Bye bye for now.